What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. I'm Michigan Sports Talk here, and in this one, we give the latest on the NCAA's ruling against Michigan, as the ruling is now expected to come out tomorrow, as we go over where things stand right now, the likely punishments, as we are finally nearing the end of all of this. And then we also talk about the Michigan offense, just how good will this offense be in 2025, as the quarterback room much improved, the offensive line seems to be much improved, and also what a successful season would look like for Bryce Underwood in his first year as a true freshman, as the Michigan offense looking to take a major step forward here in 2025. It's all going to be in this video and more, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so the first thing I did want to talk about here in this video is the NCAA and its ruling on its case versus Michigan involving Connor Stalions' alleged illegal scouting operation. And according to Pete Thamel and Dan Wetzel of ESPN, the NCAA has formally notified parties tied to the Michigan NCAA infractions case that an announcement on the findings and punishments will be publicly released on Friday. As I did mention it in yesterday's video, there were rumors that, it would be coming here towards the end of the week. It looks like it'll finally be coming out tomorrow, as we are finally near what should be the end of all of this. And right now, reality is starting to settle in here for rival fans who thought the hammer was coming on a Michigan, as those closest to it and people who have covered it closely over the last few years are saying now the same thing, that they are expecting a short suspension for head coach Sharon Moore, a large fine, show causes for Harbaugh and Stalions, and then maybe some recruiting restrictions, but no postseason ban, no vacated wins are expected. And the biggest question mark now really for Michigan is, how long will the Sharon Moore suspension be? Michigan proposed a 2-game suspension and also some recruiting restrictions last month to help appease the NCAA, and they suggested, games 3 and 4, Central Michigan and Nebraska. And also, according to Chris Ballas of the Wolverine, he stated that the decision is expected to go public around 1 p.m. tomorrow, and the Committee on Infractions panel will make a recommendation for punishment that Michigan will have a right to appeal if they don't agree with it. But, unless Michigan chooses to appeal the final ruling, which will be made public tomorrow, this will all be over. We can finally move on, put it in the past, and finally, hopefully, all the rival fans and everybody will, move on with their lives and stop talking about it. Because at this point, seems like everybody just wants to not really hear about this anymore. Everyone knows Michigan won it fair and square. Even the NCAA president came out, Charlie Baker, saying that Michigan won the national championship fair and square. But, if it does somehow end up with steeper penalties than anticipated, Michigan will, appeal, and obviously it likely wouldn't be the last word. And I think the biggest question here now is, again, the Sharon Moore suspension. What happens if they come back with 4 or 6 games? What will Michigan do then? They could just accept it and get it all over with, or they could appeal. But also something interesting, according to Chris Ballas of the Wolverine, is that they've heard from people close that the Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti's letter carried some weight, as obviously he did send in a letter to the COI basically defending Michigan and basically saying that Michigan had been punished enough. So nonetheless, ruling will be out tomorrow. So let me know what you guys think about all of that. If you guys have any questions as well, I'll do my best to answer them. But Michigan expected to find out soon, and then the announcement will be publicly released on Friday around 1 p.m. And then obviously, last couple weeks here, we've been talking about fall camp here for the Wolverines as we are getting closer and closer to August 30th. Sharon Moore spoke to the media on Tuesday. Obviously, we made a video going over everything he said yesterday. And obviously right now, Bryce Underwood looks like he will be the starting quarterback for Michigan, with Mikey Keene still dealing with an injury. And from the sounds of it, from all the coaches, the players talking to the media, it does sound like this offense here for Michigan has taken a big step forward. I mean, this offense was one of the worst in America last season. There is, no doubt this offense will be much better than last season's offense. The players they've bought into Chip Lindsey's system, the quarterback play has improved, obviously, and there are more weapons here around the quarterback than there were in 2024. Jordan Marshall said last week that the offense is scary and that it wasn't like this last year as far as the passing game and the explosiveness in the passing game. And then obviously Sharon Moore said yesterday or on Tuesday that they want to be explosive on both sides of the ball. We know the defense is going to be elite. The offense, again, should be taking a major step forward this season, but we got to see it on display, obviously, and we're about to find out here real soon, August 30th. But another really big thing here is the offensive line. We've talked about it. It starts up front in the trenches, as it always does, especially on the offensive side. This offensive line, this whole offseason has really stepped it up. They've, really embraced getting back to the standard here at Michigan. And even Sharon Moore said that they've worked really, really hard and they're pushing that defensive line now. And there are days that the offensive line wins, and that's what you want, good back and forth. And even went on to say that he believes Grant Newsome's bunch is in a good place to challenge to be one of the better lines in the country. And Grant Newsome recently did speak to the media, and he said that, I want to brag on those guys. They've really embraced that, and I'm excited to see them continue to do that work. And they've really embraced the thought of, every great Michigan team, the offensive line has led the team. That's how it has to be, and can either view it as a challenge and shy away from it, or you can view it as an opportunity. But the jump they've made, the progress they've made from last season has been tremendous, according to Grant Newsome. And then, back to Bryce Underwood and, the quarterback, whoever the starting quarterback is, obviously right now looking more and more clear every day that it's going to be Bryce Underwood. I want to know from you guys, what would a successful season look like for Bryce Underwood in Michigan going into the 2025 season? I mean, the floor right now already pretty low, based on what it was last year. And obviously we've heard so much praise this offseason of Bryce Underwood. He's got everything, the arm talent, the physical traits, and then obviously, people in the building have just been raving about his leadership at a young age, his work ethic especially. And, obviously a lot of people right now are concerned about, who is behind Bryce Underwood now, with Mikey Keene still dealing with an injury. Hopefully he gets back to full health throughout the season and leading up to the season here. But when you look at what Michigan did at the end of the season, even with Davis Warren, whoever was in there at quarterback, they relied still on their defense. Michigan can still rely on their defense this season. I think they're going to have to against Oklahoma, which is why, I don't know how much Bryce Underwood will even have to do this season with how good Michigan's defense is going to be. And then they still got the running game with Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes. Obviously Underwood's going to want to go out there and sling that ball around with his cannon of an arm that he has. But when it comes down to it, I think the biggest thing will be is just not making mistakes here for Bryce Underwood. He's going to have mistakes. He's going to throw interceptions. I mean, J.J. McCarthy threw 3 interceptions against Bowling Green. You just hope that those interceptions don't come in a big game where it will cost you later in the game. But, no matter what, with Bryce Underwood being in there, the quarterback position is going to be so much better than last season, even with a first-year starter in there and a true freshman quarterback. So I absolutely cannot wait for August 30th to finally see this offense on display, see Chip Lindsey's offense out there. But, I know some of you guys need to see it with your own eyes, as we all do, and luckily, we're getting very close to being able to finally see it out there on the field. But with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to go ahead, drop a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more if you are new around here. I greatly appreciate it. And other than that, we will see you guys in the next video. Go Blue.